each day a new beginning? What if I begin each morning with a sense of adventure? For after all, today has never lived before. I shall greet this morning brightly and bravely. Good morning, you
Each day
magnificent
a new
day.
beginning. What if I begin each morning?
What wonders shall we discover? What good shall we set in motion? And we are going to see all this discover and motion in today's webinar. So, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be surrounded by such eminent industry leaders and potential future managers. I would like to say a good morning to each and everyone presented over here. Mr. T.S. Babu, Biofair from Biofair Pharmaceuticals Private Limited. Dr. Pawan Agarwal, founder and president of Kamla Bai Educational Charitable Trust and motivational speaker. I would like to say good morning and welcome to Mr. Anil Jadwani from LMS KIT. I would like to say good morning and welcome to Mrs. Gunjan Malviya from Liberty General Insurance. Welcome to Mr. Sumit Chaudhary, sir, Third Millennium Business Resource Private Limited. Dr. Shibani Belwelkar from Organizational Development and Behavioral Specialist. So good morning, one and all presented over here. The pandemic has affected us in every possible way, right from constantly cleansing our norm and hence to heading out on the weekend. Our work life too has changed. Work from home has become a norm rather than our classic water cooler conservation. We have to resort to virtual meetings. But as they say, every cloud has a silver lining. We to understand the importance of the things that matter, our people, the human capital. One of the key learnings for us has been looking beyond the inherent ability of people or the qualities they possess and see them for who they are, a human. There have always been talks about the importance of soft skill, and we know and now are finally recognizing their importance in our organizations. We all see organizations going beyond expectations to help their employees during these tumultuous times. These are some good signs which certainly warrant optimism, but we cannot stop at this. With the situation hopefully normalizing, we have to ensure that we bring about a change in our work culture. We need to rethink in the way we approach talent management, map out employment cycles. If we want to build organizations that are meant to last, we need to retrace our steps and re-engineer our processes to meet the times of this need. There were still some people who unit about a year and a half ago would have selected the guy with the best resume and talent and not someone who may actually fit in with us and be an inherently good person. A quote by Carl Jung comes to my mind. He famously said, "Know all the theories, master all the techniques, but as you touch a human soul, be just another human soul." The corporate world is finally warming up to this idea. We must continue doing the same if we want to build a sustainable organization. Stracon Business Service is a 3-year-old company, deals in consulting for human capital, B2B marketing, financial and business research, and content development. Stracon Business Services believes in applying our knowledge in our customers' business goals, offering solutions as per their requirement, and building long-term relationship. We at Stracon Business Services firmly believes the role of HR has been very crucial in the managing internal customers, that is employees. If they are happy, then the biggest challenge can be overcome and big target can be achieved in some time. To recognize the importance of the HR fraternity, we have organized this HR Conclave 21. The theme of the event is looking beyond talent and competencies for building sustainable work culture post COVID-19. Thinking beyond talent management from a holistic perspective is needed, and hence why we have such a diverse group of panelists. We have speakers with rich experience in human resource domain. We have an academician as well. So I'm hoping to have a plethora of learning points by the end of this session, and I hope that everyone in the audience is as excited as I am. Without much ado, I would like to open the session, and I would like to invite Mr. Rohit Singh as a keynote speaker. Before handing over the platform to Mr. Rohit Singh, from business head from Stracon Business Services, I would like to introduce Mr. Rohit, who is having an experience of more than 15 years across various functions like sales and business development, research, content development, developing award model, managing over a P&L for a business unit. He has been managing sales and operation team, strategic client relationship, executing mission, critical projects, ultimately driving business growth. At Dun and Bradstreet, he played an instrumental role in initiating various projects, including banking awards, infra awards, India's leading BFSI companies, SME awards, SME cluster, among others. At Feedback Communication, he was the managing the P&L of the business unit. He played a critical role in getting the key business accounts for corporate communication and content development. Rohit is an instrumental in leveraging his experience in B2B segment to ensure for delivering and deriving value for each client, business partner, employees, and other relevant stakeholders in a transparent and ethical manner. With this note, I would like to request Mr. Rohit Kumar Singh to give a keynote theme to our today's session. Over to you, sir.
Listening speakers. All industries, economy, unemployment has long been challenged by macro-level incident by the recent pandemic since January 2020. The spread of COVID-19, quarantines, and country's total lockdown have had a severe impact on businesses. Many businesses have fluttered with bankruptcy. As per the data from the Asian Development Bank, the global loss of US dollar 8.8 trillion has been estimated last year due to the pandemic virus, which is around 9.7% of the global GDP. Whereas the Indian economy has suffered a loss of 30 lakh crore. As per the report of India Surmounting the Economic Challenges of COVID-19 by Arthur D. Little, there has been a job loss of around 13.6 crore, whereas the employees have been impelled to both quickly adapt to clients' increased health and safety expectations and to adopt relationship building approaches so as to help maintain business clientele. The businesses hence understood that the new management priority should be their human resource, to which larger companies responded with a long strategies as a cushion to job and talent loss. Despite these efforts, the recent pandemic imposed several questions of the businesses as a whole in terms of managing talent. Talent management in any industry is considered the strategic management of those as a high caliber employees who can efficiently respond to the industry's diversified requirement if allotted to the right working positions at the right time. Broadly, organizations need to attract, develop, and retain talent to develop a sustainable talent pipeline. Identifying pivot roles and developing talent pools of high performing and high potential individuals and establishing a differentiated HR architectures are key talent management routines which organizations can consider as a part of their talent management strategy. In that way, talent management can facilitate businesses to employ talented individuals who could respond to changing business needs, in particular amid period of crisis. Talent management strategies could also help the industry signal opportunities for both development and career progression, thus increase talent attraction and retention as well as help nurture talent, especially in economies that are highly dependent on the industry's revenue but lack talent supply. HR professionals have certainly not imagined the challenges that COVID-19 has dawned on them. The uncertainty has crushed the economy. Employees are in stressful situations, and HR professionals try their best to keep everything in perspective and aligned. But is it as easy as it sounds? The sudden shift in the work culture has brought new challenges for HR. The top priority of the HR is now crisis response and how to keep the employees engaged, provide the right communication channels and tools for remote work and more. Now the corporates have started paying attention to more talent attention across talent management, across contexts in the last few years. But it is now crucial to understand the impact of COVID-19 crisis on the future of talent management in terms of employee attraction, development, retention, and deployment. Other areas such as talent mobility and technological trends will continue in taking the talent management in post-pandemic situation. We at Stratcon Business Services firmly believes HR plays a very important role in keeping employees intact and motivated. To recognize the importance of HR fraternity, we have organized HR Conclave 21 with a theme looking beyond talent and competences for building sustainable work culture post COVID-19. Through this HR conclave, we will try to capture the challenges faced by the company across various sectors, how the people management team of the companies responded and helped the companies to overcome those challenges. Over to Anamika.
Thank you so much, sir. With this warm and informative keynote theme, I would like to proceed and would like to request and introduce our next speaker, Mr. T.S. Babu, who is one of the top business transformation and human capital leader, who has rendered over 3 decades of highly accomplished stint in the manufacturing, projects, IT, ITS sectors. Having started his career with BHEL, he had several impacting IT and ITS sectors. He had impacting leadership stint, Lanco Group, Suzlon Energy, Larsen and Turbo, SPI Tech, Manila with E4E Health Services, USA. He is presently engaged with Bio4 Pharmaceuticals to lead the business transformation of the organization. With a master's in he has done a PG diploma in training and development from Indian Society for Training and Development, a degree in law.
Thank you, Strikon Rohitji, for this opportunity, and thank you, learned panel, and the audience who's participating, which is participating in today's webinar. I have a very short time slot to give my address, though employee engagement is something that I had taken workshops for a couple of days. So, nevertheless, my topic today is about employee engagement and how are we dealing with it post-pandemic, right? So, employee engagement, if you see over the last couple of decades, it's been both a mystic and something very simple. It's been mystic and simple. When I say mystic, it's because You got organizations like Gallup and Mercer, Hewitt, all of that, coming up with great frameworks and levers of engagement, what causes engagement. And it's been 2 decades, and we still are around the same kind of global employee engagement index. It's under 20%. Just that US is kind of 30%, and India has improved slightly, but otherwise globally we are kind of 18% only. So if we had the code to engage the talent, why is it that we couldn't actually leverage upon it? Why didn't we convert this into a huge business advantage that it would have been? Because we are talking about the human potential. Once they are engaged, they're supposed to put in discretionary behavior and turn out anything of 120% or beyond. But what you have today is just around 20%. So what it means is that at the workplace, you got people coming in, working with the limbs and eyes and hands, and that's it. They're there, they're engaged, but I mean, they're not engaged emotionally. That's what is the mystic part of it. So what's happening is there no interest towards learning what this is and how do we actually decode this and put things in place so that you can convert it into a business advantage? If you see the Google statistics, India is the nation that actually tops globally in terms of the interest to learn about employee engagement. If you look at the search parameters, it is the Indian guys who are actually trying to know, what's about engagement, how do you get this and all. But if you look at, I've been interviewing over the last few decades, a lot of the HR guys, and what do you do about employee engagement? They would say weekend parties, birthday bashes, team outings, and all of that. Is this the end of engagement? Is this all engagement all about? It's not so. And this is about the mystic. You know that we are not engaged. We know that there's a huge potential. And we have been told by great knowledge bodies and consulting firms globally, the big fours and all of them, saying, how do you engage your people? But still, there's no leverage. We haven't actually converted it anywhere in action. Year on year, that's the engagement index, what we get. India somewhere around 20, but then if you see globally, it's 18%, just below 20%. So when I said mystic and simple, this is the mystic part of it. What is so simple about it? And how do people engage? The simpler side is that all you have to do to engage your team members is to be a true, caring human being, and that's it. If you are the person that you are, and that's how you deal with your team members, like your younger brothers, younger sisters, try to be a mentor, an elder brother, really care for them, not just talk about nice things, but actually show not just empathy, but compassion. Reach out to them whenever they have a distress or some issue, either a personal issue or a family issue. Just reach out to them as if you're a parent. Okay, so that I say is the simpler side of it. But then is that enough? Is that enough if all the managers and supervisors just take care of the team members? That's not enough. What's needed is you need to actually have a proper ecosystem, which has to come from the employer, the practices of the employer also. Like say, typically you had a COVID scenario, the pandemic you had, and you are really caring, and you have taken the time off to see that one of your team members, relative who was unwell, he's hospitalized, he gets the oxygen, you made all the personal effort. But then at the same time, you have very funny company policies. You know what happened at the turn of the pandemic? What happened is you had employers react very funnily. They started holding salary, they directed, they retrenched people on knee-jerk reaction. That's not the way. If you're talking about I think the theme is how to build a sustainable environment. This is not how employers should be reacting to this situation, as if it's an opportunity for them to do some, cut some corners and make a little money. That's not the way it is. If you're really this is actually an opportunity to every enterprise to actually come out and show that, yes, what you said about in the values and your ideology and the websites and everywhere, that you really care for people, this is the opportunity for you to come out and really help out your team members, your employees. Because they would have had perhaps a 2 lakh or 3 lakh health insurance, and the bills would have shot up, 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs. Go reach out to them and try to have some beds for the hospital, for your own employees, the oxygen concentrators. How much of this did we really do? And I know about some companies, we had some weird COVID leave policies. They said that, well, you can get a COVID leave if you have got infected in the workplace. Now, how the hell is anybody going to know where the hell did he get infected? When I asked that person, they said, well, if somebody else in the team had got COVID in the previous week, perhaps he would have been infected from me. So therefore, we give him leave. But if he has got it outside, we are not responsible. So these kind of policies actually, they kill the trust. You can't build a sustainable environment if you don't have trust. These are very funny, weird policies. So if you have even a supervisor or a manager really caring about a person, but you're in an organization which has weird policies like this, then you're not going to have any engagement. And these actions are something that people are going to remember for the rest of the times. They're going to talk about it if you're really reached out and paid that 8 lakhs beyond the limit, because this is a very different kind of circumstance. So this is what I mean to say. What is required is a perfect ecosystem. So how do you actually build? You want people to be emotionally engaged with the team members, and you want corporates also to fall in line. So what stands out is you need to have a common ideology. How are you going to take care of people? If you put in your website and your ideology and everywhere that as a value, that you really are a caring employer, then you got to demonstrate that much everywhere else. Otherwise, nobody is going to take any of your words to, ye to aisa hi hai. They just talk about it. You got to really walk the talk. So it's just now for the entrepreneurs and the HR leaders to sit down and think that, yes, we need to have a clear ideology. Because I know that the initial 2 months during 20, where, the April, May kind of a time, very weird things happen. People just shunted away people on the road, and they held the salaries, they paid 50%. How are they going to survive that? On the contrary, if you had people like the Tatas and other guys who have the foresight and you're really taking care of people, that would have built a lot of your brand value, that this is a compassionate employer. Then that means a lot more than getting a certification from a great place to work or wherever. All right, so that is what it is. And so employee engagement, otherwise it is just about caring people. It's not that. There are levers of engagement. They say that, give them a role on which they are passionate and they're strong at. Give them a strength-based role, and create a supporting environment. Don't do,
But that almost, sir had concluded almost all his words, what he want to convey a message for employee engagement and this event. Now, I would like to request and introduce Dr. Pawan Agarwal, founder and president of Kamla Bai Educational and Charitable Trust and motivational speaker. But is also an international motivational speaker, author, educationist, business consultant, successful entrepreneur, all in one personality. He has delivered numerous sessions worldwide. Customers include Fortune 500 companies as educational institutes like TEDx, Cadbury, SAP, Volvo, Honda, HCL, and many more are there. So with this note, I would request Dr. Pawan Agarwal, sir, to take your words for this session. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, you all. Thank you, Anamika, for inviting me, and all panelists, members, respected friends. First of all, my compliments to organizer and my best wishes to listeners that this is HR Conclave 21, which is the need of today's time, where we want how you can work as per your talent, competencies, and people are worried about post-COVID. So I know that how we should work, and we were working before COVID, during COVID, post-COVID. We always categorize our positions because critically everyone is facing in this 16 months journey from March 22 till today, and uncertainties are there. But my dear friends, I'm talking about, of course, India. The Indians are 100% competent, 100%, I believe. But how you inculcate in practices your competency, that is very important. That is very important. As far as the talent is concerned, as per our mind, as per our study, we always bring our talent into work. But condition what? How you think to work. It is very important, friends. I know situation is different, but we always speak as a learned speaker or as a teacher. Whatever situation is there, it may be adverse situation, say about today. But I believe even situation adverse, you should make yourself favorable to situation. You should make favorable. Because we are fortunate enough that we are working in this adverse situation also. It's very important, friends. But बोलते हैं ना, सोच बदलो नसीब बदलता है, वैसा है. You have to change your thoughts. I remember yesterday when we have, all panelists were doing just a rehearsal, dry run बोलते उसको, and then today's one moderator, Dr. Kuldeep, yeah, we were discussing it, and he was telling that, sir, work from home, but we have to work 24 hours. I told, my God, पता है what he told? Sir, job तो है, लोगों को, कई लोगों को जॉब भी नहीं है. ये हकीकत है दोस्तों. आई रिमेम्बर एक हिंदी गाना है ना, दुनिया में कितने गम है, मेरे गम कितने कम है, ऐसा बोलते हैं हम लोग. वैसे कोविड में, बिलीव मी फ्रेंड्स, आई स्पीक टू समटाइम माय फैमिली मेंबर्स. देयर आर मेनी एडवर्स सिचुएशंस एंड मेनी पीपल पास्ड अवे. हम जिंदा तो है यार. ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड माय डियर फ्रेंड्स. When, of course, I spoke number of times in my this COVID, and then we were talking how post-COVID situation will be handled by you leaders. और आप तो जानते हैं हमारे भारत में everyone is leader. Everyone is leader because we have that qualities, my dear friends. Yes, we have that qualities, leadership qualities. Way back, maybe before independence, we know that how everyone can lead his own thoughts, but main requirement is attitude and approach. Now the situation is such that how you can continue your work. You know, friends, people must be knowing that I work on Dabawalas, and you know, globally recognized, these people delivering lunchbox. Friends, you know, they are not caterers. They are always bring home cooked food and deliver in office. Last 130 years. You know, Rohit, what now they are deciding? Now last 1 year, this COVID, we are thinking, why not Dabawala White should come into cooking business? Because after COVID, many people may not have someone to cook food at home. See, your talent, your competency. You have to think how in future circumstances you can have sustainable model of your business, of your work. You have to take care of your work culture, and accordingly you should think how we can do this. See, in this we are having women empowerment. Number two, we are thinking how we can have more and more local deliveries, because Dabala deliver mainly with transport system, local train. Once upon a time, globally recognized, local train band means Mumbai band. ऐसा कहाँ हो रहा है? Now Mumbai is going on. Despite last 16 months, local trains are not working. Mumbai is working. Mumbai is working. Why, friend? Situation. We have changed our work culture. As per situation, we are doing that. And that's the reason, please remember, friends, I know you are all competent. Talent तो हमारे अंदर कूट कूट के भरा है यार. But दोस्तों, please bring all this talent, competency in your resourceful business, resourceful work. I think the time will not long away. Very shortly, we will be 100% at normal life. But you have to wait and watch. But don't worry, it's not for you and me, it is globally. But please respond to what people are supporting you and do the best. I hope you will get a lot of learning from today's conclave. My best wishes. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such wonderful and motivational words. And yes, exactly the true life which we all are we are living from last 1.5 years, and we are, as we said, people like life is stuck somewhere, but no, the life is not stuck. Still, we are moving ahead, and we are finding very new ways to enter in this new corporate and the academic world, and everyone is exploring this new digital platform and taking the new version of their job profiles. And yes, all these are the learning points from this and conclave with all the HR panelists. Thank you so much, sir. Moving ahead further, and with this note, I would say we are I'm quite very much excited to have Mr. Anil Jadwani, sir, from LMSKIT. He is a professional from more than 25 years of experience, having worked in companies like ITC Limited, Paris Confectionery, Reliance Communication, PepsiCo, Aircel Limited, Training India. He is currently the founder of LMSKIT, which is a unique LMS for traders and corporate. He is also a visiting for Chetna's Institute of Management, Father Agnes Institute of Management, Universal Business School. So we would like to, we will glad to listen you, sir, and over to you, sir, Mr. Anil Jadwani, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Anamika. Thank you, Rohit, for having us here. Good morning, everybody, and good morning to all the distinguished panelists. So I think the topic is apt, given the situation today that we are. We're talking about situations, how we're going to deal post-COVID. What I'm going to talk about is in terms of employee engagement and technology. What we all understand what is employee engagement. Just to put in perspective, we know that what we are really expecting is the emotional commitment of the employee to the organization and its goals. Why? Because then he actually cares about his work at the company and goes beyond normal and work on behalf of the organization goals. That's what we're trying to achieve. We all know that if you want to ensure employee engagement, has to be a human intervention. There has to be that human touch. But given the situations and given the way we are progressing, technology need to be leveraged. We know the importance of technology, how we can really stitch it up and marry the two to get the best of the employees. Our traditional ways are quite effective, but we, as Mr. Agrawal ji said, that we need to change. Only thing constant is change. So that's the where the technology has come in, and we have been adapting that very effectively. So while we do a lot of activities as far as employee engagement are concerned, what is technology trying to do? Technology is going to allow business to improve communication and work productivity. Okay, it's basically elevating communication so that information is exchanged using multiple channels instantly. That's the whole thing. Now, one of the biggest thing that comes up before I talk about what are the different technologies is implementing of technology in an organization needs buy-in of the employees. So that's very critical. If there is no buy-in, it will not get implemented. The first thing the employee really asks with him, what's in for me? Okay. If that is communicated in terms of how it's going to help him add value as an individual, okay, and make his life easier, then that adaptability, that buy-in, and the resistance is taken away. So that's the most critical part. So if you're trying to implement anything, I think we all understand that. Just to put in perspective, because we talked technology, that buy-in of the employee is the critical part. Once we ensure that, okay, it becomes very easy to implement any new ideas or technology for that matter. Now the point is, what are the different roles or different parts that technology can do as far as employee engagement are concerned? Okay, there are different tools that one can use. So let's say performance management tools. What it's trying to do is basically going to help employees in terms of your self-management tools, allowing employees to access and manage company data. Self-service portal will also enables HR to allow employee to perform variety of tasks to reduce time and increase in efficiencies. Some of the tools that are used. Then we all understand that reward and recognition plays a very important role as far as employee engagement is concerned. There are enough and more platforms that ensure your peer-to-peer recognition, okay, which helps to organize, motivate the employees, support each other, eventually leading to a productive workplace. So these are some of the technologies that are used. What I want to talk a little more about is where I am personally involved is your training and development. Okay, training and development, we all know, is an essential part of businesses to remain competitive. We had a traditional way of doing our trainings, but given the situations, we have relooked and come beyond of that. What have we done? We have used technology to impart training. What's working today is blended learning, which is mix of your virtual classroom is not happening with self-learning. What we are trying to do is preparing ourselves for the future generation who are very, very comfortable consuming online content. So we need to adapt, we need to be future ready. So that is the reason why it's important to implement and the e-learning part of it. Now, what does the statistics say? It says that 65% of the people are visual learners. People process the visual content 60,000 times faster than plain text. People retain 80% of what they see, 20% of what they hear, 10% of what they hear, and 20% of what they read. So this is what, in terms of really can leverage your online training. But people come up and say that the completion rate of self-learning, self-paced programs is just 10 to 12%. But that's only if that is delivered through external platforms. The moment similar content is brought on the organizational LMS, okay, the completion rate goes up to 95% plus with assessments. What organizations have understood, and the trainers and the whole fraternity, HR and whole fraternity together, is how to really measure the effectiveness of training through technology. How to use those methods. One such way is ensuring that some of those learnings are implemented at the workplace. Because if that is implemented in the workplace, you get your return on training investment. Those learnings need to be, embodied as far as the participant is concerned, that how is going to help him perform better having used those learnings. With this, like I'm saying that online training is an important and worthwhile investment because engaged employees are profitable, proactive, and competent. Thanks. That's from my side. Thank you. What do you, Anamika?
Thank you so much, sir. And for this, for the words you have given for this complete session for in HR Enclave. With this note, we are having. I would like to introduce about Mrs. Gunjan Malviya. She is from Liberty General Insurance. She is an influential HR professional with more than 12 years of experience, and from globalized recognized organization like Liberty General Insurance, Dun& Bradstreet and Nielsen, with larger part of her experience in BFSI. She is also a recipient of industry recognition such as HR Top 40 under 40 by Jombe in 2019, Top 70 Young HR Leader of 2020 by People Business and TAPME, Great Manager Award, Woman of Essence during ITM. Ma'am is having a very big, solid background from all over the industry, from various corporate experience. With if it will be very less if I introduce ma'am. So I would like to request Mrs. Gunjan Malviya ma'am, you come up and say your words to here.
Thank you, Anamika, and it was so inspiring listening to all the speakers so far. So I think what I represent here is more, so while of course we learned about India, but globally, how we can leverage from each other and be more proactive in our talent practices and make them more sustainable. About me, I think, Anamika, it is good enough that you shared. Just one thing I would want to add, that coincidentally and as a luck, that I have always been with the century-old organizations. So they have, I think, lived beyond 100 years and successfully, which has exposed me to some very, I think, meaningful people practices grown over years. My latest organization, Liberty Mutual Insurance. So it's a US multinational, which is 65th rank in Fortune 500 company, and I think again survived for such long. We have seen actually world wars and so there is a lot of experience in terms of bouncing back. So that's what I think I bring to table today.
Thank you so much, ma'am. With Mrs. Gunjan Malviya, ma'am, we are having other panelist, Mr. Sumit Chaudhary, who is an international consultant, trainer in HRD space, and its chairman, a chairman and managing director of Third Millennium Business Resource Associates Private Limited. He's have 4 decades of rich corporate experience, having held senior management positions in DCM Limited and Ascot's Limited earlier. He is also an alumnus of KM College, Department of Social Work, FMS Delhi, Faculty of Law, all 4 being prestigious institutions of the University of Delhi. He also holds diploma in labor law and the Training and Development Institute. Sir is again having a very big corporate world experience. With the another panelist we are having over here, Dr. Shivani Belvelkar, who is an organizational development and behavioral specialist. Dr. Shivani Belvelkar is an author, HR and OB SME visiting faculty at SDA, Bocconi NMMIS, Great Lakes IIT. SPGen Global is an SPGen Global, which is an organization culture, the transformation expert and behavioral coach, building on her concurrent global corporate experience. MNCs across America, Europe, Asia Pacific, having appreciated her impactful leadership programs and very big, again, a very all the corporate experience with Dr. Shivani Belvelkar. With this note, I would like to introduce our Dr. Kuldeep Soon, HR specialist, who will be the moderator for this panel discussion. I just need to introduce Dr. Kuldeep Soon, who is having an experience of more than 2 decades in HR. Presently, he is working for one of the leading manufacturing company at HR General Manager. He had previously worked for Malstra Information Technologies, CMS Computers, Reliance Retail, and Zinta. He has done his PhD in HR from Tilak Maharaj Vidyapeeth. So this is all about Dr. Kuldeep, and I just would like to hand over this platform to Dr. Kuldeep soon for the panel discussion. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Anamika, for that introduction. And what a fantastic discussion we had with our earlier speakers, where Mr. Babu spoke about engaging employees for creating sustainable environment. Dr. Pawan Agrawal spoke about looking beyond talent and competencies. And Mr. Jadwani spoke about leveraging technology, and all from different fields. So that was great. This is a great panel. And we are slightly behind the schedule, so I'll quickly start. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to ask few questions to our panelists, which are relevant to our topic today. So without wasting much time, I would first like to take Dr. Pawan Agrawal, because he's an educationist as well as a motivation speaker. He also, so I'm fortunate to have in this panel at least two panelists who are associated with working for organizations which are more than 100 years old. So one is Dr. Pawan Agrawal, who also does presentations and is a speaker on Dabbawala, also apart from being a motivational speaker. And we also have Gunjan Malviya, who mentioned that she works for an organization which is three companies which are decade old. So I'm fortunate to have two panel members who are associated with such old organization, and I'm sure these organizations have seen such pandemics in the past also, because we had the Spanish flu and a few other pandemics in the past. So Dr. Agrawal, you being an educationist and such a highly qualified person, you teach students from KG to PG. I know that you run so many educational institutions. My question to you, sir, is that what kind of programs are you conducting for the corporates in the present times? And has your own way of conducting the motivational sessions or your type of programs which you were conducting before the pandemic and now during the pandemic, is there any change, sir?
Yes, Dr. Kuldeep, it's true. It's my privilege and honor. Last 34 years, I'm educationist, and last 20 years, I'm a speaker. Globally, I got opportunity to speak and lively. First time in March 20, that was 29th March 20, I got opportunity to speak online. Before, I never spoke online, never. Despite I know technology, but I was not doing any technology. Today also, I'm not good enough in technology. But as far as this situation, 1 year we experienced, forget initial 3 months or 4 months. But after that, I observed the mentality, psychological impact of COVID in the mind of humans, especially those who are working, specifically those who are youth. Of course, we cannot categorize exactly, but maybe below 35 years of age. And rather than they are motivating, many people are demotivating, Dr. Kuldeep. So what I structured in my lectures, this is online in pandemic, in COVID, I want to just hammer or target their mind. I want to motivate them that, boss, please remember, whatever you deserve, you must try to bring into practice. And in my program, when I was live, I was giving some activity also, maybe on the dais, maybe among audiences, but now it's not possible. So I decided that because of this situation, everyone is at home, and you must have that experiences how you can best of the best from your home. Even workplace is not with you, work is with you. And therefore, I make them change. I make them convinced. Ki boss, no way you should disappoint. No way you should frustrate. No way you should think that you are not doing good or you may not able to good. Of course, like other two speaker told that in these, Babu sir also told, Alin sir also told that in this situation, sometimes people are not getting good enough money, or sometimes they get paid 50%. Sometimes they are required to work maybe 20 hours, 15 hours. Friends, it's very important to note these people mindset. And Dr. Kuldeep, then I make that structuring. Of course, as far as my ways are concerned, I changed some ways. I was telling these people when I'm delivering session, please make your speaker on rather than earphone, because let your family members to listen to me. Maybe your son, maybe your wife, maybe your mother, or maybe parents. Why? That impact on their mind. What, suppose my son is listening you, along with him I'm listening, then I will come to know what is the impact speaker is doing on my son. That ways I changed, Dr. Kuldeep. I was appealing. I was messaging to corporate people also. When you are organizing session, if listeners at home, then message them, you can on your speaker.
That's a great point.
Yes, Dr. Kuldeep, you know our institute outside, you know that one, our panelist Vivek Agrawal hai. Sir, you will surprise Kuldeep sir, outside 27 people are listening today's our program.
Wow.
Lively.
Wow.
Forget we in the morning we message more than 700 students and we appeal them. Today's HR conclave on YouTube, you go and listen. But lively people are sitting outside because we have classroom and they are listening. The reason, sir, these learned people, of course, just now we listened to only two speakers, Babuji and Anilji. But we are still, of course, along with Gunjanji. But rightly you told, sir, it is very important to address today's situation. And same thing I'm doing, Dr. Kuldeep, in my today's corporate session. Over to you.
So just to remind you, sir, you said that you did the first virtual session in last year, you started. But I'd like to just remind you that actually, sir, you did your first virtual session way back in 2007 when you came at Reliance Retail, and we did a video conferencing session with 17 states across India. So probably that was your first virtual session, when virtual sessions were not actually much practiced in India.
But Kuldeep sir, that time, you people are there, couple of people in front of me. Today only screen is there.
So I would like to ask you, request you for a short, quick answer on this. Because you being an educationist, what do you think education system should play a role in making future generations ready for such kind of situations?
Sir, very nutshell in one line. Sir, it should have more practical than only theoretical. I believe, and I think you corporate people can play the role to involve universities and education system. How after 10th onwards, 5th onwards, sir, no need of categorize standard, no need of categorize age. If you ask me, sir, from childhood, I am working. My father was farmer or I was in village. So that culture should come into education system. Kuldeep sir, I think that is the best to involve these people and best to make them strong to face any situation comes in future like COVID or any small situation also. I think that's why practical things are very important in education system. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for those insights. Thank you very much. I would like to take the next round of question with Mr. Babu. So, sir, you have been associated with so many organizations. You have worked with public sector undertakings. You work with private sector. You have transformed businesses. you're highly qualified, you have different, different aspects of business, right from running a business to, knowing the legal side of it. I'd like to know that manufacturing industry was one of the worst affected in this pandemic. So, and you being associated with pharma industry also. So what were the major steps taken by the pharma industry in particular and the manufacturing sector in general to overcome these challenges? And one thing which we have heard was there was a talent shortage, labor was moving to their hometown and employees were also moving to their hometown, especially the lowly paid employees. How did the manufacturing sector or the pharma sector in particular counter with this problem during the pandemic to have a sustainable business?
Yeah, thank you, Kuldeep ji. So it was that panic and a fear factor that actually caused all the disruption. People leaving, people asked to leave hostels, people asked not to move out of gated communities, and people having fear on their own and self-contained and not willing to come to the workplace. So the first thing that we did is, I'm talking about what I did in my organization is, we thought the first thing is to confidence building. So we did everything possible to give the employee experience right from the moment they would board the bus. So there was also this lockdown, all that. So we arranged transport for every corner, wherever people come, maintaining social distance, the hygiene standards, sanitation, all of that. We took some video clips and pictures and shared it with the homes. We spoke to the parents of and the husbands and whatever, all the people, giving them the confidence, let them come once. And we had people speak to them. And those, like you said, people had gone outstation to other places, other states, like we are in Telangana, so the neighboring state, most of them. So we arranged transport and got some special approval from the department. We did all of that to get people back. And we also had to find some accommodation, all of that. So except for a week, there was not much of a disruption. We got things normal. And where we had people not very clearly indicating that they're going to come back, we had people available in the marketplace at that point of time who lost jobs. They were thrown out of jobs. We picked them up quickly. So we didn't have a problem. But in other manufacturing, like in steel plants and other places, they did all the internal, the maintenances, the downtime, whatever things, re-engineering stuff that they couldn't do. They did that. So, people, it worked like a principle of equity, but they also wanted to come back because they have to earn livelihood. So it was not so much, of a talent issue, except for a very short time. I think everybody braced up. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for those insights, sir.
Yeah.
I'd like to now ask another panelist who comes from a very good and strong Ivy League background. He's an alumni of the prestigious Kirorimal College, and he also is an alumni of the prestigious FMS Institute, Mr. Sumit Chaudhary. Sir, you have worked in the past with global companies like Scotts and various other companies, and you have been into the consulting space, doing interventions in the organizations as a consultant. My question to you is that what role has an external consultant has played in helping the organization to build the work environment? And what kind of interventions were majorly done by consultants like you, acclaimed consultants like you, and how did it help the organizations to stay productive in this new work environment?
Thank you so much for that question. I'll definitely answer that. But my compliments to the organizers first to have thought of such a wonderful theme. So contemporary. We are all together in this. and we all have to get out of this. When I say we all have to get out of this, I mean we have to some extent, but we need to get out of this much more. So the before I specifically answer your question, unfortunately, because of the non-disclosure clauses with clients, we will not be able to name clients, but in a general way, I'll answer that question. If you ask me to summarize, there will be only two words. Our entire work, and I would say the entire management and all the employees, boils down to two words: mindset transformation. It was something which we faced, which none of us in this world had experienced. And my trust in our ancient wisdom became more and more, and it helped me to relate their issues with that. This whole concept of the Trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, and kindly keep religion out of it, it's all about change management. Our brilliant ancestors told us that everything has a starting point. Everything is maintained for a while. That is, starting is Brahma, Vishnu is the maintainer, and then Mahesh. Everything will be creatively destroyed one day. So the first I had to feel the pulse. For example, I am not a great consultant, frankly, but even the best doctor in the world, what does he or she do? He or she may have the entire knowledge of whatever afflicts the human body, but has to go back to the patient to ask what is happening to you. So this is where I started. First, I sensitized the management that this is an unforeseen circumstance. Nobody ever imagined that such a thing will happen. So first, you understand the concept of change, which has always been there, to the concept of disruption. I mean, in terms of businesses, if you look at, disruption was when the old companies, and I was so happy that 100-year-old companies were being talked about. I started my career with a 100-plus-year-old company, that's DCM, 1889. So today it is 132 years old, but of course it has been divided into many companies. So there are huge learnings, legacies, but there is a problem also, because they are so immersed in their successes that they don't want to think beyond that. And that is the biggest bottleneck, hurdle. So from change, why did these old schools, so many old companies just vanish? Because they did not understand the disruptive models that are coming in. Whether you take an Ola or Uber, or you take Airbnb and Oyo, or you take, the Paytm and such like companies, what is happening? So there was disruption. Nobody could ever imagine, the traditional companies, that without owning a hotel, you can be the largest, business in hospitality. Similarly, without owning a car, you can be the biggest transporter. So those kind of things shook up. So that I would call disruption. But beyond that, what happened early 2020 or late 2019 is hyper disruption, where everything that we knew went for a toss. So my first role was, or our company's first role was, to sensitize people to understand that this is what we are undergoing, and you have to be extremely empathic or empathetic, whichever way we put it, with your employees. And don't brand them as, because you think it is right. So they are experiencing something completely different. They are not used to this work style. Even I have not got used to it, so many things, So the point is, empathize. Take each employee as an individual who is facing a lot of problems which he or she is unable to discuss also. Some terrible things have happened around the employee. And unfortunately in India, and I stressed on this with the Indian clients, that unfortunately we never, in our growing up process, the stress on mental toughness is not given. We are very goody-goody with our kids, very nice, all that emotional things are all fine. but you have to make them mentally tough to face challenges. That was completely missing. For example, I keep on persisting with my idea of why do you ever bother about things which are not in your control? Oh, kya ho jayega? Agar mere ko ho jayega, to kya ho jayega? Instead of thinking of that, imagine that the worst can happen. What will I do? What would be my response to it? That is in your control. What may happen is not in your control. Think of what could happen, but be ready with solutions. And that is what scenario analysis is. So I help them with, developing. I have faced worse things than you are facing. So that counseling had to have that individual approach, understanding the patient. The doctor cannot prescribe, the best doctor in the world cannot prescribe anything till the patient details the symptoms. Then the doctor can use the expertise to understand what might be wrong and therefore what might be the solution. So that is a model which helped us a lot, right? So this is what the essence of this whole thing is, that give them the confidence. We try to give them the confidence. Array, you can work from home, you can do this. Of course, as you rightly asked that question in manufacturing, we had to focus on what type of industry is it.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chaudhary, for that insight. I'd like to now
this and that, So we tried to help them after understanding what exactly is the group of people undergoing and what exactly is the individual employee going through, for which we trained the HR people and many other senior people in the organization who could then pass on that kind of thought process to them to give that support. Sorry for the long answer, but I thought this much must be said. Thank you.
That was fantastic, and thank you. Thanks a lot for that. I'd like to now turn towards someone in the panel who's MMS from finance. Quite diverse qualification, I could say, from finance side. And a PhD from the prestigious NMIMS University, and doing a lot of coaching and being a faculty to some of the most prestigious universities and institutions across the world, like the IITs and Great Lakes. She is also an author and a subject matter expert of my favorite area and my bread and butter, which is HR and organization behavior. And she's a behavioral coach, which is required. This is something which is required in these times, managing the behaviors. And she's also an organizational transformation expert. So I'd like to ask Shibani in the panel that, being a OD expert, organizational transformational expert, what kind of OD interventions, in your view, Shibani, companies did to be effective in this new work environment? And what would be your suggestion to companies or organizations, and what can be the elements of purpose that can be created in people in these tough times?
Thanks, Kuldeep, for this question. And I was listening very intently to almost, all the thoughts that you all were resonating. So here's what I can say, and I will summarize it in the form of a small anecdote. Several years ago, in one of the, large forests in Japan, there was a competition, an archery competition, and this young man decided to go and take part in the competition. He basically wanted to win the title of being the world's greatest archer. So he does that, and of course he wins the competition, but then he's also told that there is somebody else who exists. There is this man, who actually lives in one of the shrines in Japan, and he is currently holding the title of the world's greatest archer. Now, this young man is obviously really rattled by it because he thought that he was going to get the title. So he goes in search of this older archer, thinking that, let me figure out, I'm going to challenge him to a duel, to a match, and I will dislodge him from this title. So he goes in search of this gentleman who's quite old, of course, And he finally identifies him in the middle of one forest in a small shrine. He goes there and he challenges him, saying, "Sir, I believe you're supposed to be the greatest archer, but I want to challenge you to a match because I think I'm better than you." So the old man doesn't say anything. He just follows him. So this young archer beckons to the older man and he takes him to the outskirts of a forest and points out to one tree in the distance and says, "Look at that tree over there. There's an apple on the tree. Can you see that apple?" So the older man just smiles and nods his head. So he says, "I'm going to aim at that apple and I'm going to ensure that the apple drops from the tree with my arrow." So he goes ahead and does that. And of course, lo and behold, the apple drops from the tree. And then he looks at the old man and says, "Now can you better that?" Because obviously the tree was at a really large distance and you could barely see it with your naked eye. So he tells the older man, "Now you better this." So the old man, of course, who was wiser, just smiles and he beckons to the younger man that, "Follow me." So then the young man is wondering what's going on. The older archer actually walks along with him all the way to the edge of the forest where there is a big ravine, like a drop from the edge of the forest. And then it continues on the other side. So there's a huge drop and the second part of the forest begins. But the only thing connecting the two ends of the forest was this really long log of wood. So the older archer walks right to the edge of the forest and starts walking midway onto the log of the wood, and then turns around and looks at a tree on the other side, looks at the cherry on the tree on the other side, and turns around and takes aim and actually gets that cherry to drop from the tree with a noise that everyone could hear. And then he walks back to the edge of the forest and then looks at the young archer and says, "Now you try that." And the young archer bends down and says, "I'm sorry, sir." And the older man says something which I think is a message for all of us today when we talk about the interventions, that we all have the skill sets. We all have the skill sets that we can maneuver and manipulate and use to be innovative to manage the world. But what we need to do is to develop the mind that goes along with it. So whilst that young archer had the skill, he didn't have the mind that needed to control that skill. So almost every intervention that is being spoken about today is all about developing the right mindset, including empathy to a large extent, and the ability to connect with people and connect with your situation. It's called the future of work. It's broken into two elements: the readiness for the future of work and the competency for the future of work. And when we talk about readiness, it's about the mind and the will. And when you talk about competency, it's about the skill. So most programs that I see today are a combination of the two. But there is no program or intervention that is being run without a focus on empathy and well-being. And I think that is a critical element which almost all of you have also resonated today, that this is what's going to be the crux of what we do.
Wow, great. And I really like the point which you tried to make, that developing the right mindset is very important. I'd like to now move to the next panelist who has worked in 3 companies which are more than a decade old. So I'd like to ask Gunjan Malviya, who is on the panel. She works with Liberty at present. So Gunjan, you are from the insurance sector, and in the past you have worked with the service industry. I'd like to ask, what kind of challenges were faced by the BFSI sector during this pandemic, and how did the industry overcome it? And can you tell us how your organization in particular have managed it? How did you keep your companies engaged, and what kind of learning interventions did the industry do during these times to keep the productivity of employees high? Over to you, Gunjan.
No, thanks, Kuldeep. So I think BFSI has been the fastest growing. I mean, I can say one of the fastest growing sectors, pre-pandemic and, currently also so. And specifically the GI sector that I'm representing has been seeing a double-digit growth. My organization, although a globally established one, but pretty young in India, so it has been in the high growth phase. So we were growing at 40% year on year. So yes, the business challenge has been one of the biggest challenges. The sales force was at home, which they have never been. There was a lot of anxiety around uncertainty in the market. And like I think all other industries, we were also facing this low employee morale situation. One of the good things about our industry and company is that we didn't have dependence on machines. Right, so we could actually work with our assets, which is employees, and come up with new ways of working, and the future ways of working, as Shibani also mentioned, the future of work. However, the two major implications that were happening in the insurance industry per se, although short term, but a sharp drop in business volumes, and largely due to the auto sector. As what the auto sector has been facing. There was also, because it is insurance, so claims come part and parcel of it. And as the situation was, there was expected and, in process, a sharp spike in the claims, both on the motor claim side and also the health claim side. So yeah, this has been the situation with us. Now, to overcome this, actually, we amplified our belief at Liberty. So we strongly believe that progress happens when people feel secure. And one of the biggest insecurities that pandemic got was about the lives, your own life, and also the lives of your loved ones. So, that time it was less about business progress, but more to, really succeed in life.
What did your organization do to bring that kind of sense of security amongst your employees?
Yeah, and thanks for asking that. Because I also heard from Mr. Pawan saying that life is of most important, and then how do we actually keep people engaged in a real sense? So as we one of the biggest things we had was around we being a global company, we were learning faster from our other markets, other global markets who before us went into lockdown. So we very quickly and proactively took major steps in terms of employee security. And we actually announced the work from home much before the Indian government declared the lockdown. So that I would
what made you do the lockdown much before the government announced? There might be some reason towards it.
Yes. So I think this is also the time to live the value. So we always say that in most of the offices there is a value wall. Values are on the badge. They are on your laptop stickers, and many of those places. This was actually the time to live by the values. So what made us do this is living by our value of putting people first. And this has been an example in action. And also it was embedded in all the leadership messages, that putting people first is most important. Your lives are more important. Business numbers will happen. And we will do it because we have survived a lot of such situations as an organization. So we will. Now, what happened in this is because we put our focus on people, we put them above the business at that point in time. We trusted them. We actually got the trust back. So then people went back and they figured out innovative ways to connect with customers and do business.
Wow. Great. Probably you being an global presence and working in so many countries, probably because your company has presence in some country where already the pandemic was high in January or February, maybe from also probably you would have announced the work from home much before the government announced the lockdown. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, we've been very closely, working together. So there have been many calls, and believe me, everybody's profile changed, and the only focus was to take care of people. So from the utmost top to the bottommost level is that how will we safeguard our employees? And that was all in action. So not only in words or on emails or on some video, but every time in action, so all the decisions were around that. I think you also asked a very interesting question, that how did we keep our employees engaged? So while we have lived by our value and went ahead, but there are certain things that I would want to highlight. We have built I think almost a year-long campaign called, and we started pretty early, I think end of March and early April, when we just went into lockdown. People were trying to understand what's happening. We launched this campaign called as Building Resilience and Readiness, and it had a lot of elements, and the importance of communication, which I think we have also heard in panel, was amplified, and leadership communication was embedded. So beyond town halls and beyond those formal connects to informal connects, because we've also heard that human connect was extremely important. We also kept monthly pulse check, so what other people are feeling, and then building manager ownership into it. I think another beautiful concept that we follow here is bringing your whole self to work. And the situation was that people were into many emotions, and enabling them or helping them to bring their whole self to work. So then we can help them through our wellness programs, so a lot of focus on physical and mental wellness.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Kunjan, for that. I would like to now move to the next panelist who has already spoken earlier. He's basically running platforms which help organization identify employee training needs through assessments, right? So, Mr. Anil Jadwani.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, what kind of opportunity does learning, this kind of learning platforms give us in this post-pandemic world to build a new India?
Wow. Okay. Thanks, Kuldeep, for that question. I think what platforms are trying to do, especially the learning platforms, it's trying to. There are multiple facets that has evolved over a period of time as far as evolving this, as far as the platforms are concerned. So one, it has taken time as far as India is concerned in terms of organization adapting it, accepting it as a part of training, and really speaking, pandemic has made it faster and quicker in terms of bringing it through that it's high time that we really try and imbibe this technology as a part of our learning tools. As I said before, very comfortable in terms of consuming online content. We know that, and video forms 85% of content consumption, and they are the new workforce that's going to form up. So, in short, what's going to happen is consumption of content or training is going to happen. So we need to be preparing for those new millennial crowd that's going to come in terms of your employee force. So to build a better India, as to answer the question and the point that you're trying to make, is that there are a lot of aspects within the tool that we have built, as a software people, where we are trying to measure the effectiveness of those trainings. We're trying to say that, what is that? Because the biggest challenge the organization has is that what is the return of the training investment? ROTI is what we call it, return on training investment. We have done certain investment, we have put certain cost behind it. What is the return on that training investment? So what we're trying to do is, through this technology, through the software, through this platform, trying to bring that part, saying that this is what is going to come out of that training in terms of implementable at the workplace, where the organization sees value post the training is done. So that's something that the platforms do from my side, Kuldeep.
So I would like to ask you further one point that
Sure.
in companies like the organization I work, on an average annually per person e-learning completion of e-learning program used to be 2 programs on an average. During the pandemic, this 2 e-learning person went to a whooping 12 in my organization. So, and I heard similar things from some of my friends and ex-colleagues in their companies. I'd like to ask, in areas do you think companies have done the maximum training during this pandemic? Whether was it more towards the technical side or skill building side or on the behavioral side?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Kuldeep. So I feel what has happened is when pandemic struck, some organizations were prepared, some were not prepared. The major areas that they really have done training is more towards the product, technical, compliance part of it. Behavior, because it need to be customized, because it need to be relevant, it needs to be stitched as per the organization, had taken time to really, be imparted as a self-learning mode more. The challenge that really, in terms of implementing this was more from at the start was more from the trainer's perspective, because as trainers, they're very used to physical training. The moment you went to online platform with physical presence not being there, and when you put off the camera, you don't know what's happening in the camera. Is the guy there, person not there? So there was a big challenge for the trainers. How do they really adapt those and from the participants to show that value in terms of training? So they have also evolved over a period of time. They have understood how to really engage on an online platform, and that is the reason why now we see more and more training being blended, which is virtual plus self-learning and giving some excellent results. So that's the evolvement that has happened in terms of the training post-pandemic.
So I just wanted to understand whether companies are spending more on skill building or is it more on behavioral side?
So it is definitely skill building is the core area where people are looking at, because that's the challenge that's all companies faced. Because if you don't build the skill and capability, it's going to affect the profitability and the productivity of the organization. So definitely skill is the core area where organizations look at, and but the challenge is really unless you bring that relevance in terms of real scenarios for the organizations and for the employees, okay, it's not going to be effective. So there is a need where the involvement of creating this content has to be very high in terms of the to bring in relevance. So to answer that question in short, to really conclude saying that skill is there, is the area where it needs to be built in terms of training, but how you develop that content in terms of imparting it to the employee becomes critical. So bringing that, I keep saying that relevance, okay, what's it for we as the customers, for the employees becomes critical.
I'd like to ask a question, and I throw it to any of the panelists over here. Did you build or did you see companies building a kind of multi-skilling amongst the employees to address the a unique talent shortage during this pandemic? So can any of you give some examples of how company worked on multi-skilling of their employees in this pandemic when there was a talent shortage also?
So maybe I can take that shortly
Great.
first before I open it up to the others. The two things that I've observed globally, what's happening is with the virtual world, your key skills then actually get highlighted. So if you're good at something, the virtual world is giving you an opportunity to present that skill irrespective of where you're located. So there are three things that have happened in this point in time. One is what we call, nomadic digital experts. So you can actually find talent from anywhere in the world because it's now a borderless, seamless kind of environment. So the skill that you're looking for can actually be completed by finding a digital nomad from across the world, number one. And number two, when you're looking at your current employees upskilling themselves, then it's a clear-cut demarcation on whether there's a will or a skill problem. And if it's a skill problem, then very targeted programs have been offered. Because primarily you're looking at technology upgrade and you're looking at your ability to collaborate with people. These are the two things that actually come in the forefront as far as upskilling is concerned. there is no real third element that needs to be technically taught to employees. So it's collaborative, transparent, being present kind of program, which is behavioral skills. And on the tech front, it's all about your platforms that you're going to use. So these are the two targeted programs that are being used primarily to upskill employees. And the second element, of course, is that if you see that your employees are not able to cope with it, then there are employees available who are across the globe that you can, pool into.
Great. So I'd like to take some questions from the audience because this program is live on YouTube and we have a lot of audience. So I'd like to take some questions from there. So Sheikh Mahi, who is one of the audience, has asked this question: what are the top employee trends post COVID-19? So anyone of you can take that.
I think I would take that, and thanks for asking that question. I think one of the things that pandemic has taught us is the new ways of working. I think all of us are talking new normal and new way, but what is this new way of working? And I think my organization, we picked this up and we've launched the hybrid working model, in this March, just before the second lockdown happened.
Sorry to interrupt, Gunjan. So, my next question was something on those lines. I mean, the question is from the one of the participants. So that question, I think you're just answering. So the other question is basically, it seems like the remote work environment is here to stay even after the pandemic is behind us. So how can organizations sustain work culture in a low contact setup? So you spoke about hybrid. So I thought, I'd just, tell you that there is another question which is on those lines. Over to you.
Yeah. So I think, so first of all, let's understand very quickly, although all of us know hybrid, but it's also important to know the three major parts of hybrid. So, and that's why it is called hybrid. One is there will be a set of employees, basis their roles or their choice, may work completely from home, okay, which is a very unheard scenario before pandemic in India. The second is that some people will have to work from office, given their roles, that their requirements are like that they'll work from office. Then there'll be some who are in between, who will partially work from home and partially work from office. And getting all of these three together, connecting both these ends actually takes us, first of all, understanding of this takes us closer to the success that we are talking about. So the essence lies in how we implement hybrid. First things first, because if you're taking this as a sustainable way of working, then the creation and launch of it also has to be. So I can share something from what we have done at Liberty. We have not done it as an HR practice, okay, or top management is saying, so we'll do it. So it is done in a very co-created way, where the business leaders were involved and, we partner, we run it for more than 6 months. And there was employee survey element which was involved, that what do they prefer. There was business lens which was involved. There was tech lens which was involved, customer lens which was involved, and putting all of these lenses together is when the launch happened. So first thing first is how are we getting it introduced, the hybrid, then helping them understand what hybrid can be. So one of the things I think is, so a lot of companies are now talking about is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So including all these three together is the game changer. So the one who is at home should not feel left out. The one who is in office should not feel, maybe sort of reprimanded in some way. So how do we bring, so some of the examples are tweaking our processes, the talent processes, like, how the experience of performance management or the reviews is with all these three, types of employees, as we say. The communications, is it following digital way? We've heard, I think, on the self-paced learning. So give more choices to people than prescriptive. So these are some of the examples. And I think, again, I will highlight the role of communication is extremely important in this whole thing.
Okay. So great, although there are a lot of questions pouring in, but in the interest of time, I'd like to conclude here And I'd like to thank all the esteemed panelists for the wonderful insights given by you. You know, some of the key takeaways which I take from this panel discussion was, you know, as Dr. Pawan Agrawal said, creating values. You know, he started working at a very young age, and he wants to fight such pandemic in future. He suggested that, you know, we have to create values and you know, work hard to have a sustainable environment. Sumit spoke about Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. He said that what is created is destroyed and gets recreated. So that gives a lot of confidence. Shivani spoke about developing the right mindset, which was really fantastic. And putting people first, something, you know, spoken about Gunjan. So all the panelists, really a lot of learnings for me and all of us. So I really thank you for this wonderful discussion. I thoroughly enjoyed and learned a lot. Over to you, Rohit and Anamika. Thank you.
Thanks, Kuldeep, for conducting it so well. I was always worried about what we can achieve in the limited time. It's been fantastic moderation by you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yes, that's exactly, sir. Very wonderful. Wonderfully, you are moderating this. I think this is, for me, it's my first experience having this kind of panel discussion and listening you and so much all the experienced panelists over here, and really a very learning platform. I hope those who all will are and will both will watch this event, they will definitely take takeaways from this webinar. And with this, I just like to say thank you note for this complete webinar. So thank you all the speakers and panelists for an enlightening and entertaining today's webinar on HR Conclave. We appreciate having this mysterious area clarified. Your ideas and information would be useful for upcoming organization work culture and the professionals. I owe you all a special vote of thanks for presenting over here and making the objective of HR Conclave 21 to be successful. I really appreciate that I have a small token of our appreciation here for Mr. T.S. Babu, Dr. Pawan Agrawal, Mr. Anil Jadwani, Mrs. Gunjan Malviya, Mr. Sumit Chaudhary, Dr. Shivani Belwekar, Dr. Kuldeep Soon, and none other than else also Mr. Rohit Singh for conducting this live webinar of HR Conclave 21 and bringing his thought into reality. Please accept it with our sincere thanks. And thanks for attending our webinar, HR Conclave 21, with the theme of looking beyond talent and competencies for building sustainable work culture post-COVID-19. We hope all you enjoyed and take many takeaways from this panel discussion. So that's all for here. Thank you, everyone. And signing off from this platform.
Thank you, organizers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
It was excellent. Thank you.